Alrighty, good morning, everyone tuning in. This is the T Podcast. Today we got a great episode. I say that all the time because I think every episode is great. Today we have JP MacFadyen. Awesome. So he is in the what I'll call my studio. It's essentially a studio. I have a bunch of fancy stuff. So we're going to be talking about Moncus Park today. He is the executive director. You were recently named executive director, I think last year, right?
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking with him about that and all of that good stuff. But first, let's see our intro. Alrighty. So JP, welcome to this show that I have called the T Podcast, and welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Ben. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So obviously we're here to talk about Moncus Park, and if people don't know already what Moncus Park is, they've been off of social media. They have not watched any news coverage at all. They probably don't even live in Lafayette anymore. So a quick high level, I guess, of you and your involvement with Moncus Park. What does that look like?
For sure. Well, I won't blame anyone that doesn't know because, we're all wrapped up in our own little lives. And if you're going 45 down Johnston, you might pass by Moncus Park and not even realize it. So Moncus Park is a 100-acre green space, really in the middle of Lafayette. If you Google Lafayette, you drop a pin in the middle of Lafayette, it probably lands on Moncus Park or pretty darn close to it. So it's only a quarter mile on Johnston, but 3/4 of a mile deep. So this real long, skinny rectangle. So we'll go into a lot more detail throughout the podcast, but this space, it's a 100-acre park. The park is run by Moncus Park, or really Lafayette Central Park is the business name of the park. So we're a nonprofit independent park whose mission is to develop and maintain the park for the next 99 years for the city. The city owns the land, but that's really where the relationship with the city stops.
Okay, so the city of Lafayette owns the land.
That's correct. So people that have been here all their lives or have at least lived here for the last 15 or so years, we'll rewind back to 2005.
That's a little ways back.
That's a little ways back. So back in the day, 2005, Katrina timeframe, to put it in perspective. At that time, the university owned the land. As people know, it was called the Horse Farm. Longer in existence, it was a cattle farm, but the last 20 or so years, it was a horse farm. So back in 2005, the university was looking at selling the land for development. Some citizens got wind of that. One thing led to another, and over the course of about 6-7 years, the city in turn purchased the land from the university, and then turned around and business leaders, government leaders in town formed a nonprofit called Lafayette Central Park at the time. And the goal with that nonprofit was to raise funds and ultimately to plan, design, build, and where we are right now, build and then maintain the park for the good of the community and the greater Acadiana community, quite frankly.
Yeah. I know I'm kind of going to start off I guess, I don't know if it's deep, but this is one of the main questions that I get a lot of the times whenever I post anything about Moncus Park is how much of the funds that went into creating Moncus Park was public funds and how much of it is private money, because it's a privately owned or privately managed park.
Right. So this whole concept is new. Let me back up for a minute and just talk about public-private partnerships, which, we'll get to me eventually. So this is all new for me too. So I'm learning as we go here on public-private partnerships, but that really is the future of lots of public spaces, is to combine public space with private operation. In this case, it's a nonprofit, but we maintain and, like I said, develop this thing entirely outside of the city government, out of the public realm. So, to your question specifically, we've raised over $20 million in terms of constructing and running the park. That's all been private dollars, with the exception. So, do we put on the table or not on the table the money that bought the land from the university? So back in, if I get my dates right, 2012, the city purchased the land for $6.8 million from the university.
Got it.
Well, they purchased that via bonds. So, yes, our tax dollars finance that in a way, right? So that was the purchase of the land. From there on out, it's been private money to build the park, and then ultimately what will be used to maintain it. Was there, out of the gates, straight after that purchase and the nonprofit was formed, Lafayette, LTPFA, Lafayette Public Trust Financing, anteed up a lot of money to help with the design process, over $2 million. That's quasi-public. That it's not really public dollars. And then the other piece of that is we're in session right now in Baton Rouge. There is capital, what they call capital outlay money, which goes to both public, mostly to public entities, but there are also non-public entities like the universities, like Lafayette Central Park, like Ottoman Institute in New Orleans, like City Park, that can ask for money from state capital outlay. So we've had a request for $8 million that doesn't come all at once, that comes over the years, that is paying just for capital projects.
Yeah.
So none of that is for the day-to-day maintenance of the park.
Okay. So
does that help?
Yeah. I want to get a little further in just a moment. I definitely want to touch on our sponsors. And what am I pressing here? Give me a second. What am I doing? Sometimes technology acts a little funny. All right. So our sponsors, if you haven't already known, it is the Music Academy of Acadiana, Acadiana's top choice for music lessons in piano, guitar, voice, drums, violin, saxophone. If you want to learn audio production, they do all of that right here locally. And they're founded locally by Tim Benson, who is a University of Louisiana at Lafayette Music School graduate. Basically, they have about 500 students enrolled. That could be more. This has been several months since I visited, and so that's what I was told last time. Great local company. Like I said, they've been featured on American Idol and The Voice. Ultimately, their goal is to make music lessons fun, educational, and to help foster the next generation of musicians and creative thinkers. You can check them out at their website, which is it's musicacademyacadiana.com. You can see it on your screen too. So if I just confused you, you can look at it there, but I'll say it again, musicacademyacadiana.com. You can also check them out on Facebook and Instagram and all the other places. And then we have The Orchard, which is Acadiana's only local authorized service provider for Apple. And if you have an Apple device that is broken or needs some help, The Orchard can help you fix that. They have 2 locations in Lafayette, one by Buffalo Wild Wings off of Ambassador, and then they have another location that's a relatively new location in Karen Crow next to Super One Foods. So check them out, and we really appreciate their support. Alrighty, so let me see if I can get us on a split screen setup here, because I am struggling to get this technology. I mean, goodness, give me 1 second. We're going to get it, I think. Are we going to get it? Why is it acting that way? All right, so I may not be able to get it. I'm not sure why one of my videos is stuck in a pause format. It's giving me some kind of weird setting. So anyway, JP, so when it comes to Moncus Park, I know right before I was reading off my sponsors, you mentioned maintaining the park, and not being public money there. At least that's what I understood. So I want to make sure people that are listening and wondering a little bit more about Moncus Park, because some of the other questions that I get is like, is it going to be clean? Is the restrooms going to be maintained? All of this good stuff. So if they don't already know, how is Moncus Park going to be maintained, and where does that money come from?
That's a great question. So like we talked about, so tax dollars, there's no dedicated tax dollars. We're not part of the city budget, et cetera, which is a really hard piece to understand, right? Because parks are free, aren't they? And immediately when you go to a park, what's your first impression? Is like, well, somehow my tax dollars, some millage, my property tax, somehow this is getting into a parish budget, a city budget that allows workers to come out and maintain that. So that's not the case for Moncus Park.
Okay.
Which I should also mention is this what we talked about earlier, the whole public-private partnership, new to Acadiana, but not new to the United States. I mean, we've been in public-private partnerships since the 70s, and specifically our park friends around the country, when we talk to other parkies, as we call ourselves.
Okay.
Memorial Park in Houston, people have probably been there. Discovery Green in downtown Houston, Clyde Warner in Dallas, Piedmont in Atlanta, City Park in New Orleans. The big one that everyone knows, Central Park in New York City. Yep. These are all examples of public-private partnerships where, it doesn't match what we're doing. I mean, everyone is different, right? They're all birds of a different feather, but still of a bird, right? So,
right.
With that kind of analogy, if I may, what we're really talking about is how does that work how do we have a public park, but be able to have clean restrooms? We're going to have a water fountain, water feature. I hesitate to call it a splash pad. We can get into that later. But to keep that clean, you got to put chlorine and sanitize, whatnot. We're going to, so we got features, right? So dog park, you got to pick up poop. Yeah. All the things that go on with the park behind the scenes, maintenance, cutting the grass. We have 100 acres. So it takes a village to make all that happen. So how does that work? So there's lots of little different revenue streams, quite frankly. So there's not one magic bullet. I wish there were. So it's going to take what we call memberships. So that's for every person that comes to the park that's like, I can't really make a difference. Yes, you can. You can, think of it just like a membership to your local public radio station or a museum or any other place where you might have to have a membership to get in. Now, we're not going to ask you to show a membership card or anything like that, but it's just your way as a local citizen to say, I'm doing my part to help support the park and ensure that the bathrooms are clean, that there's always toilet paper in the restroom, trash bags in the trash receptacles, et cetera, and that we've got grounds crew to empty those trash cans on a regular basis. So that's one sliver. We call that membership. That will grow, obviously that will grow over time as we get more members. We've got levels galore, whether you want to do it at $25 a month, $100 a year, $5,000 a year. You've heard on radio stations, for the price of a cup of coffee. Whatnot. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of a little bit of that model. So that's a membership component. We also have more, you could say like a gift component. So with all these things that we're building, there's little ways that the average person can be involved, if I can say it like that. So we have boardwalks around the lake. So you could buy a board in the boardwalk for your kid for their birthday, or for your grandma, or for yourself, or for your partner, whatever. So and that gets inscribed. We're going to have those in a treehouse. Veterans, you want to honor a veteran, we have paver bricks to go all around the Veterans Memorial. You can put somebody's name. So and then, ratchet that up a level. You could buy a tree. You could buy a plaque to put on a park bench. You want to remember your grandfather who passed away. So there's lots of different park donations, if you will. So that's kind of another stream of revenue. Then we start talking about events. So this is obviously something that you see in bigger parks too. So not all events are free. I mean, hopefully we have free events, and the way those events are free is we work with a corporate partner who underwrites that event. So you get, you look at Festival International's coming up. So why is Festival free? Same deal. We're all buying ourselves a pin. We're buying some merchandise, and Festival is working with community partners, local businesses to underwrite the event. So we'll be doing the same thing in terms of getting their support. But sometimes we may just say, you know what, we're going to have a show at the amphitheater, and it's going to be ticketed.
Okay.
So you have to buy a ticket. So there are lots of little revenue streams along the way. And while we're being honest about trying to raise funds to operate $1 million plus budget every year, the reality is we'll have a parking lot. The parking lot in our parking will be a challenge because we're mostly a park, and we got this long, little skinny, narrow park like we talked about that's deep, that we wanted to keep mostly as a park and not fill it up with parking lots. We're going to charge $2 an hour to park.
Okay.
Nothing outrageous. And if that, that's going to rub some people wrong. I understand that. Yeah. You could bike, you can walk, you could park somewhere else. We're not going to keep anybody out of the park. The park isn't ticketed. There's not a fee to come into the park and enjoy the space, by no means. But people need to recognize that in order for us to make the budget, in order for us to be able to keep it in a way that at the standard that we want to operate it at, it takes money. So nice things aren't free.
Yeah, so that is a fact. So one of the things that you just touched on with parking is, I know there were some conversations about how you would go about doing that. So you just mentioned that you're entertaining a $2 an hour parking fee. With a membership, is parking a benefit of any of the memberships? Because I think that would be an interesting thing. And you mentioned, you can do a year. I think I want to say on your website, whenever I was on it, and we'll show the website in a little bit, is that it's 25. I think there's like a $25 a year, like, spot. I mean, that's really inexpensive. That's like a couple of bucks a month. So yes. Elaborate on that, yeah, I guess.
So so one of our challenges that our board of directors put out to our staff for the year is like, learn how to maintain and operate a park. So this is new for the staff. This is new for Acadiana. We didn't pick this isn't a franchise. We don't just pick a playbook up off the shelf and say, oh, page 7, here's how you do XYZ. So we lean on park precedents from other parks. Lots of our staff has been involved in there's learning institutes through parks so that you can, learn what folks do at other parks. That to say, yes, we are exploring how benefits and parking will play together. Out of the gate, parking is not going to be a benefit, but look for that in the future. I think we sort of have to figure out the sweet spot. If we give everyone that has a $25 membership parking, we may be in a spot where
there's more people with parking privileges.
We have to find the sweet spot in terms of supply and demand. And, maybe it's the $200 annual membership. Maybe it's maybe we end up slicing that different member levels get, maybe at 200 you get three passes a month. Maybe at 50 you don't get any. Maybe, we haven't figured out that level yet. So the first thing we're going to do is get the data of like, let's let people park for the second half of this year, for the first couple months. And then as we revamp, we'll always be changing and tweaking the membership program and what the benefits are. And as we do that, we may say like, look, at this level, it makes sense to have some parking passes on a monthly basis, say.
Yeah.
Or a discount, or it might be a discount. Maybe you get a half price. I don't know how we're going to do that.
Right. I get it. It's still in conversation.
Work in process, yes.
So I want to go to your the website in just a second here. Man, why in the world? Let's see if I can get it. Pardon my issues here. I don't know why I'm having issues. You know what? Give me 1 second, JP. Everybody, I apologize. I'm trying to show the website, and now my split screen is working, but it's not working as I had intended on it. Yes. Okay, I need to get off of the split screen situation. All right, now I think I might have gotten it. All right, so you can see my laptop screen. I'm just going to go to Google, and you can do the exact same thing. Just type in Moncus Park. I didn't even have to type it in all the way because I've already typed it in. So Moncus, and of course the word park. I shouldn't have to spell that out for you. So just click that, and then you'll see the first listing, Moncus Park. And whenever you hop onto the website, they have a pop-up that says become a member of Moncus Park. And it says memberships begin at $25 a year for individuals and families per year, and provide critical support for Moncus Park's operations, which we just talked about. And you can click learn more. And so while we're talking about memberships, I'm just kind of going through the website, and then we'll go on to what people can expect out of the phase 2 that is wrapping up here. But yeah, so just scroll through their membership page on their website. You can see all the different benefits. They actually have a membership benefits table where you can see what level gets you what. As of right now, all of that is exactly what you're going to get. And I think I know I see some percentage off of tickets for the events. I see a decal. I want to say there might have been on certain levels a shirt maybe. I don't know if there's a shirt in there. I can't.
Yeah, I'm not
okay.
Sure myself.
I see a lot of things, a lot of benefits. So,
and one of the first benefits for members is we're going to have a hard hat tour.
Okay.
Sneak peek inside the construction fence next month. I want to say it's towards the end of April. So one of our other plans is members events. So members, it's a chance for members to get together, friends of the park, and bring a friend along. Maybe they become a member too, and it'll just be a good social event. And hopefully we'll have, whether it's a meet and greet with the staff, and you get to get a preview of what events we're planning, what's coming up for Christmas this year, or like this, we're a little behind the construction fence, and get the first early look at the playground and whatnot. So
yeah, that's exciting. I mean, that's one of the things that I would be tickled pink to be able to do. Go walk around and get to be the first feet on the ground behind the fence of all the construction.
Right.
Speaking of construction, I want to try to show you guys some of the recent photos that I took. So this first photo right here, let's see if I can make this work. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble with my software, man. JP, it's technology. I love it and I despise it all at the same time. Let's see. All right. What is going on? All right. So you can see right there, that is the amphitheater. It's actually the First Horizon Amphitheater, and I'll show you the picture that I'm showing, JP. I don't think I showed you guys that one.
Yeah,
so
we got 6, we call them elements. So we got 6 things that we're building as part of this phase 2. So just for your listeners, so phase 1 was really the initial building of the park, or at least the front 50 acres. So what did that mean? That meant put in a parking lot, put in the bridge. We built a dog park, trails, the lake. If you've been to the park, you know that we've got the highest point in Lafayette now at 60 feet above ground. Well, to build a mountain in Lafayette, we had to dig a hole to get the dirt.
Right.
So that, the hole became the lake. So we have a 4-acre pond. And that is stocked as well with bass and brim. We got fisher folk out there every day. All kinds of people are out there fishing, so that's pretty exciting. So that was really the phase 1. I mean, and all the garden beds. So lots of beautiful native plants and trees. Over 500 trees were planted. So we kept the big live oaks that were always on the property, and then the middle section and towards the back, there's there's a forest, but there were some trees that were taken out as part of that. And, we have a lease for 99 years. So we're playing the long game here. So trees, they don't grow overnight. So we've got all sorts of shapes and sizes and varieties of trees that are native or well adapted to the area. So that was all the phase 1 work. So phase 2 went more towards construction of things, if you will, the elements. So, and how that goes down or why we chose those, it's really a donor-driven decision in a large part. So, for instance, you're talking about the amphitheater. Iberia Bank, when they merged with First Tennessee and First Horizon, they had a pledge. Iberia at the time had a pledge to donate money over multiple years to pay for the amphitheater. Well, as part of that whole merger, the pledge was advanced, and we were able to get the money up front, and it was time to build an amphitheater.
Right.
We had the funds to do it. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
And now it's just about finished as well. So an amphitheater came online. We got both hospitals in town. Huge, big kudos and thank you to both Ochsner and Lafayette General, who underwrote the inclusive playground, and then Our Lady of Lourdes with what we call our interactive water fountain splash pad. Really crazy, cool, exciting water feature that is just over the top, fun and exciting in terms of, you think splash pad at a park or maybe you've been to Palmetto State Park or up to Chico and seen like kind of your standard out of a catalog splash pad. This is more like a big city water fountain that kids can play in. So it's been professionally designed by a firm out of LA. The designer, the principal of the firm, actually graduated architecture from UL. His name is Jim Garland. His firm is called Fluidity. People know of the water wall at the Hilliard. That was one of his first projects way back in the day.
Oh yeah, right off the university.
Right.
I mean, not university. Is it?
Right off of St. Mary.
Yes, St. Mary.
By the
I was
by
getting
the museum,
my roads.
the Hilliard Museum there. But he one of his claims to fame is we've all seen it in movies, the Bellagio, the fountains at the Bellagio. So he had a hand in that as well.
That's amazing.
So his vision for the water feature at the park is a 25-foot long alligator that's got jets that form the ribs. So there's this big breathing alligator that kids can crawl inside and splash through. That's looking across the pond or the bayou, the swamp, at a pirogue that's on the other side of the space that kids are playing in the pirogue that's shaking because the alligator's just staring down the pirogue. And off the pirogue are waves that are formed by the water jets. And then you've got all these cypress knees that are popping up as well. So, and it will be LED, it's got LED lighting. So it'll be programmed to light up at night. So as you can just sort of visually imagine, this is not just your average park splash pad.
No.
So we try not to even use the word splash pad. So it's kind of some crazy big city out in Acadiana Swamp water fountain that'll be, I think, as much fun to sit on the bench and just watch as it will be to play in. So, and that's all in the kids' space. So we got playground on one side with this poured-in-place rubberized surface. So it's all inclusive. Anybody can move around throughout this playground. We got swings, a section of the playground for 2 to 5 year olds, a section of the playground for 5 to 12 year olds, musical instruments that you can play on that are tuned so that, it'll sound, there'll be a little symphony going on as kids are playing on the musical instruments. And then, some spinners and other fun interactive playground kind of things, as well as situated in between those two in the same zone is our the Savoia family treehouse. So we've got this treehouse designed by Treehouse masters. Everyone at some point in their life, I think, has watched it was on Animal Planet back in the day. was called Treehouse Masters, and they build tree houses throughout the country. So think of our tree house more, some of the tree houses that they featured were, we've got running water and bathrooms. And
Yeah, I mean they're quite expensive. Yes.
In trees. This is more for a kid. This is what I grew up with. You build a tree fort.
Yeah.
So this is like a double-decker tree fort in one of the oaks that's got a 400-foot long ADA accessible ramp that meanders its way through the trees to get up into the tree house. So the ramp is built. So I've been up on the ramp a couple times, and the ramp itself is awesome because you're up in the trees going up through this ramp, and then there'll be a kind of a gang plank that will get you into the tree house that has a second story. And off the front of the tree house is a cargo net bigger than this room that kids can climb out over, out of the tree house, over the land, almost 2 stories up. And they tell me it's perfectly safe.
All right.
I'll probably put my kids in it first, although.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
Being the executive director, I guess.
Make sure it's safe for everybody. If my kids fall out, whatever.
Right. But, it's built to be able to hold up and withstand the children abuse that it's going to get.
Right. I mean, it's commercially rated.
Yeah.
So this is not just something you'd throw up in your backyard for for the neighbors.
So yeah, as JP was talking, I was cycling through some of the photos. So the photo you're looking at now is the tree house that he was talking about. It's harder to imagine, even looking at a photo of it from the air. I mean, this is about give or take 50, 60, maybe 80 feet off the ground. It's hard to imagine how it really feels to be on it. I mean, I have not been on it, but I can only imagine that it feels bigger when you're in it. Because right now from the sky, even the amphitheater looks tiny. But as I was saying, and I showed you that photo that I took from the ground of the amphitheater, it just sitting in front of the amphitheater felt so much different than whenever I take my drone and fly around it. Like it feels a lot bigger and it feels more like a theater than
it really
anything.
is.
So.
I mean, the goal is it will be a slope lawn surrounding it, or it is a slope lawn that can hold about 3,000 people. And the backdrop to the amphitheater, it won't have a wall. It's really, the backdrop is the lake. So you've got the beauty of just the natural surroundings behind it. It's 60 feet wide, 40 feet deep. So, just about any show that would come to Lafayette or could come to Lafayette would work. I mean, including the symphony we've made sure that it would hold a full-size orchestra as well. So
yeah,
super exciting to see that come to fruition. And then so we talked about the 3 play pieces in the amphitheater. The other 2, while we're in the play zone, right smack in the middle of the play zone, is also the restroom. So back to, private money, public money, the state capital outlay, we're using funds from that to cover the restroom. So it's not only the building of the restroom, but it's also, this was a horse farm before. I mean, it's been agricultural land before that. So there was no electricity in this place. There was no water lines. There were no sewer lines. So you throw a building in the middle of the park, you got to have all the infrastructure so that you can flush the toilet.
Yeah. And look, a restroom was one of the most highly asked for things at the park. Not the amphitheater, not the pond, not all those other great things. A restroom was the most asked. I mean, I get it.
Yes, indeed.
It's a big field. It's a big open area. And if you're out there, especially if you have digestive issues, no matter what age you are, because it could affect anybody, you're going to want a place to go. And if you don't have a porta potty near you, you're out in nature. Guess where you're going? So I do appreciate the restroom situation and the fact that it's going to be maintained. It's going to be clean. You and I, we briefly talked. You came to a luncheon a while back, and I asked if the park's restrooms were going to be Buc-ee's clean, or are they going to be Girard Park clean? And you made sure to say we're going to strive for Buc-ee's clean, because I think that's what everybody wants.
Right. And, back to the membership piece, right? So it'll be, I mean, we'll have a standard, but in order to meet that standard in terms of both the staffing and the supplies, cleaning product, you name all those things, it's like, where does that come from? That's in the operational budget, right? So when somebody, state capital dollars, built the building, there's no extra money sitting there say, oh, here's some extra money to go maintain the restroom. No, that's not how it works. You get to build the building. And really part of that is the same with all the donors that have provided the funds to build these structures. By and large, it's to build the structure. There's, in some cases there is money set aside for, O&M, for operations and maintenance, but really the large portion of operating the park is going to have to be through these other revenue streams. So I got to mention the one last construction project that we haven't talked about.
Yep, we haven't talked about it.
Which is the Veterans Memorial. So that's an interesting one because, like all the other ones that we talked about, Oshner Lafayette General, prime main sponsor on the playground, Our Lady of Lourdes with the water feature, First Horizons with the amphitheater, Savoia family with Treehouse. The Veterans Memorial has been over the years really a true crowd-funded project. There's a veterans committee that's formed of many veterans, obviously, that also represent other veterans service organizations throughout Acadiana. So it's been a collaborative effort between these veterans committees as well as the park and the designer to come up with what this will look like. So that's been finished, and we were close, but just didn't have enough money. And it's right on the backside, same zone, if you will, of where all the play and the restroom. And we talked to the board and said, look, we got all this work, all this construction work going on in the heart of the park. Gosh, wouldn't it be nice to get this veterans done at the same time? Otherwise, we're going to be putting up another construction fence when we finally do raise all the money. And the board, they opened up some doors, made some calls, did some advocacy, and we were able to get the Stellar Family Foundation to come on board and kind of put that over the top. So big thanks to them to make that come to fruition. But when you go to the Veterans Memorial, you'll see that there are pavers throughout the whole entire walkway. Every one of those pavers, whether it's $100 brick or $250 brick, they were bought by individuals, right? And then we have this long 60-foot long seat wall that looks into the memorial space. That seat wall will have plaques with different veterans' names or organizations that are sponsoring, paying for that. So again, that's another piece. The flagpole has, plaque on it. There's 12 conflict markers for every major war that the United States has been part of, with a, let's say like a 3-page historical write-up of that conflict. At the bottom, there's a memorial to each one of those. So again, another opportunity for somebody. And not all these have been allocated. So there's, for any of your listeners that are like, ooh, that sounds like something I'd be interested in, call the park. There's always, we'll be able to raise money for the Veterans Memorial for continuing on into the future. And that was always the hope and dream of the Veterans Committee, was they understand that once you have the memorial, you got to change out flags. You've got to, keep it clean. Ultimately our goal is you can, besides being a place to honor and pay tribute to veterans, it's also an opportunity for events, whether it's a veterans event or a military wedding or some kind of celebration, some kind of military celebration. That would be a place to have that, as well as an educational component. So these 12 markers, I can envision a field trip, and a couple veterans are out there at the memorial when these kids show up, and explaining the different branches of the military and how that all works and all these conflicts that we've been part of. So, and what that means to serve your country. So lots of opportunities for school kids and others,
Yeah.
and adults to get out there and learn more about veterans and how they play a part in our history.
Yeah, man. It's that's another part. I'm glad you mentioned it because I was looking through my photos, and while you were talking about it, I showed a photo of it. I wanted to make sure to mention it because it's one of those things that you don't want to overlook. I mean, that's part of the history of the United States, and and it's interesting. Like looking at the photo, it looks like there's, and I hate to even think about this, but it looks like there's space that if over the time in the future, we don't want it to happen. But if more wars do take place and we have more people that are memorialized, like it looks like there's space for those.
There is. I mean, that back to the long view. I mean, we're in this for at least the next 99 years, and hopefully beyond that. So, that's the unfortunate reality.
Hopefully, what's happening right now in the world is not going to be one of those markers because we don't need that.
Fingers, yeah.
Yes. All right. So you guys are wrapping up phase 2, and I'm also wrapping up our talk here. So I heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that another phase may be in the works.
You heard right. So phase 3.
So what is phase 3?
Phase 3 is the farmers market pavilion.
Okay.
So now we finally get out of the park in the middle of the park for now. So everyone can enjoy the park without any fences, and we can have our concerts and throw frisbee and walk your dog. Up in the front where most folks are probably familiar with, every Saturday morning, 8 to noon, farmers market, rain or shine, every Saturday that occurs. So, that's been in works for a while. So our lead donor on that is the Schumacher Family Foundation, has the naming rights and has sponsored the Farmers Market Pavilion itself. But that was just one. So just talk about what the concept or the complex as a whole looks like. So there's a 4,000 square foot open air pavilion, and then adjoining that, another set of restrooms because it's a different side of the park. And then beyond that is a small kitchen and multi-use space, cafe, could be a classroom, could be a gathering space. That small kitchen area gathering space is air conditioned, but the restrooms are open air. And then, of course, the pavilion is open air. I mean, it's got shade structures and lots of big fans. So that has been in sort of a holding pattern for a while as we've waited to get more donors to step forward to be sponsors and naming rights. And as it's turned out, those sponsors have gone to other places in the park for whatever their passion is. I mean, you can't get someone here if they want to do veterans or they want to do amphitheater. So it's been a process of talking to different donors and to try to get somebody on board. A part of that too, not so much different than the restroom. There's a lot of infrastructure. Infrastructure is not fancy. It's not sexy. People don't put their name on sewer lines.
It's taken for granted usually.
Right. So, and none of that exists. So again, the restroom and the pavilion, it needs water, it needs electricity, it needs sewer lines. So, and then we need to finish off the roads and some more parking. So that, and then landscaping. So that is all like the complete picture of what the Farmers Market Pavilion phase looks like. So between the Schumacher Family Foundation and a next spend down of capital outlay dollars that was approved last year, that will be the next phase of construction. So we're working with our architects right now to wrap up what they call construction documents. So it's been in the planning process for almost, I want to say at least close to 4 years, from conception to ideation, and then working through some schematic designs to finally to where we are of like, we're super close to construction documents that will in turn go out to bid, and we will hopefully break ground by late summer. The expectation is it's a 9 to 12 month project. So by next summer.
So phase 3
will be phase 3. And then we're already talking about like phase 3B, which would be beyond that, which would, so that's, so the Farmers Market Pavilion is closer to the little bridge in the coulee, and then where the farmers market is currently set up, where the old barn was, the red barn, all the way up to Johnston, I call it the triangle. It's like this green triangle it's sort of next to Regions Bank.
Yeah.
The plan is to finish building that out as well, which really is just like kind of a multi-use space. Make sure that there's adequate parking there. We've got some more event lawn space so that it would play well with the Farmers Market Pavilion as kind of an overflow. The Farmers Market Pavilion won't hold all the farmers market vendors on any given Saturday. So it'll also spill out into the grounds around it. And I should also say that we talked earlier about events and other revenue streams. So the farmers market is a separate entity that really essentially rents the space from the park now. So they will rent the pavilion and additional space for Saturday morning, but on any given Tuesday afternoon, the pavilion will be available for the public to use unless somebody wants to rent it.
Okay.
So you want to have your company crawfish boil out there, you're getting married and you want to have your reception there, it'll be an opportunity to say, nope, sorry, public, it's not available today or tonight because it's being, we're renting it out. Again, another revenue stream for the park.
Okay.
So that next summer, 2023.
That's exciting. I want to make sure I'm understanding. So it will be for rent, but it will be available for use publicly.
Absolutely.
So what does that look like? If somebody wants to go, I don't know what the pavilion looks like visually. So like, how would somebody use it publicly without renting it?
Like, let's just say on a Tuesday morning, nobody's using it. You and your girlfriends or friends went out and you did a walk around the park and you want to just grab a coffee and be in some shade.
Okay. Got it. Perfect.
So, not so much different than a pavilion at Girard Park or somewhere else. Kind of like that. So
don't host your family crawfish party there without renting it.
Well, you won't be able to.
There you go.
That's pretty much that. Yeah. So it'll require a rental. So I mean, it could be a corporate event, could be a family reunion, it could be a wedding. It's kind of the limit in terms of what that would look like. And it's really kind of adjacent to the playground area too. So, I mean, I could see, you wanted to rent it out for a birthday party and be able to have everyone park over here, do your cake, whatever, and then just walk across the little bridge and then go play in the playground area. So, I mean, people will come up with ideas on how they want to rent it. So for sure, that'll be a space that will be available.
Awesome. All right. So last thing, and then we will let you go. When can people expect the phase 2 amenities to be complete? I know we're getting close. What does that look like? Do we have kind of a tentative date on when everything should be?
So, I mean, I was on a construction call this morning about that very subject.
Awesome.
So we're getting close to where all that's left is landscaping. So it's really close. So next week or the week after, they start to they're going to be pouring the final topping slab, which is like the colorized final slab that goes on top of the water feature. So that's pretty exciting. So that's like the final piece, and then they start to test and commission. And as you can imagine, this thing has got like 6 or 7 pumps and all these controllers to make the fountains splash it, spray at different times. So they've got a pool company basically comes in and does all the programming of all that. So that's coming up here in the next couple weeks. Playground, they're finishing some sidewalks around the playground, and then they put the rubberized surfacing in, and then the benches go in. So that's pretty close. The Veterans Memorial, they're already starting to landscape the Veterans Memorial. The amphitheater, we're down to irrigation and then some landscaping. So we're, here we are coming to the end of March. So the goal is before summer.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
Awesome.
When school gets out, we want kids splashing in that splash pad.
Yeah.
We want kids playing in the playground.
Yeah, because it'll be nice and warm, and it'll be the one thing people will be like, why isn't that open yet?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we're, barring any unforeseen, and we've had our fair share of unforeseen.
Of course.
From the very beginning, like this time last year was like nonstop rain. And that's when we kicked this off. So, I'm only looking at the 10-day forecast, but right now the next 10 days look pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So we got to get some work done.
Awesome, JP. Well, it was great to have you on to talk about Moncus Park. I always like talking about Moncus Park. I go there often, not just to fly my drone and to do stuff for you guys, but I probably have been a good handful of times in the past couple of weeks with my little boy. We go and climb the oak trees. There's this little swing under one of the trees, and we go up the hill, and he wants to roll down the hill. We go by the lake. It's really a nice experience that I think a lot of people in this area of Louisiana have not been able to experience a park kind of like this. I mean, we have Girard Park, which is nice, but lately people have been complaining about the upkeep of it. And so to have a park like this, that's this nice, that's well maintained, of course it's new, so longevity we'll see, but I trust you guys. It's a really nice feature for living in this parish. And I mean, obviously you don't have to live in this parish to go to the park.
Absolutely not. And in closing, I would just say, for sure, if you drive 45 miles an hour down Johnston Street every now and then or every day, and you never, we all know where Mel's Diner is on one side of the street. I mean, literally the entrance is across the street. And, that's one thing that we always talk about with like One Acadiana and with Lita. And, we're trying to keep our kids and our grandkids staying in Acadiana. One of the ways you do that is make sure that there's places for them to work here and make sure there's places to recreate and have fun and enjoy. I mean, we all obviously talk about the food and the festivals. So we want to be in the mix and all that. So this certainly helps make that all happen. So man, check us out for sure. And don't forget to become a member. Yeah.
So with that, we have the website again. So if you guys haven't been there yet, go to moncuspark.org and check out their membership levels, check out their different pages. They have a dog park. You can find out all the information you want about the dog park, the different events and programming that is happening around the park. You can just support the park without being a member if you want to just do a one-off donation, or you can get involved. You can do all kind of different things. And so, yeah, check out their website and go enjoy the park, because it's like JP said, we have the next few days are great weather. Just take a little walk out there, bring the dog, bring a poop bag, but or I think you guys have some on the property.
We do.
So yeah, just check out the park, and maybe the next time we post a video, or even Moncus Parks post something, let us know what you guys think. And invite somebody. We've invited family members already, and we've enjoyed it. Again, it's enough space for our little kids that are 5, 6, and younger to let their energy out towards the end of the day. Like, hey, we need a place to run around. This is where you want to go. All right, JP. Well, great to have you. Is there anything else that you want to leave off? I think you said in closing, but just want to make sure.
No, I appreciate you having us, and spreading the word. I mean, that, like, from the very beginning, it's just this whole public-private entity. It's a little confusing for folks to understand how a public park operates with a private nonprofit park conservancy kind of as the driving force. Yep. So this helps spread the word and get people educated, which is kind of the key, so that everyone understands what we're trying to do and understands why we're asking for their support.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, that is all that we have for today. Thank you for listening to the T Podcast, and we will see you on the next one, which is actually tomorrow. So, with that, y'all have a great weekend, and we will see you again.